Joey, you brought a couple of articles, and I've seen a bunch of these too. It seems like there's a whole series of areas of research that are starting to overlap related to neurological disorders like Alzheimer's and diabetes and various actions to help remediate all these things. What are you seeing? What is this article that the first one you want to jump off with?
Yeah. So these two articles really grabbed me when I looked at them. And on one hand, I kind of thought, well, type 2 diabetes is bad. If you have it, you know it's terrible. You've already been told this by your doctor. But I think to me, and if you're listening to this podcast, and for me as a pharmacist, when I'm talking to people and giving advice, I just think it's so important to add color and context to a disease like this, especially because type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle disease to a large extent. Everything from the medications you're taking may be expensive or may have side effects, to your diet, obviously, your exercise level. So on one hand, it's a lifestyle disease. On the other hand, it's not a feel disease. So in the sense of, well, I'm depressed, or I have this injury, or this other disease that I feel, it's insidious.
It's objective and measured.
Yes. So you're basically, I guess what I'm trying to get to is people are having to make decisions on what they eat for meals every day, and how often they exercise based on something they can't really feel or see unless they go to a doctor's office. So that's why I thought it was important to add a little bit of a feel component to what may be going on in diabetes as you're deciding to manage it. I think what we've known for a while, even though it's still not forefront, whenever you talk about type 2 diabetes, you talk about, kidney function, eye functioning, increased incidence of cardiovascular disease, CV events, stroke. Those are kind of them, and they're obviously critical and important, but this one, the Alzheimer's, the brain functioning, and even a level below Alzheimer's, so to say, of day-to-day functioning is where I thought this was really interesting.
Okay. So this article is great because it's got a summary right at the top. It says, new research reveals that type 2 diabetes may impair the brain's reward and memory processing in ways that mirror early Alzheimer's disease. The study focuses on the anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC, a brain region responsible for motivation and emotional regulation, and its interaction with the hippocampus. In diabetic rodent models, researchers observed muted reward signals and impaired memory processing linked to the elevated blood sugar levels. These changes may help explain the elevated Alzheimer's risk in people with diabetes and point to new avenues for early intervention.
Yeah, a couple things besides the obvious grab me there. Muted reward signals. So that ultimately is relating to what's very common in Alzheimer's, even in very early depression, lack of anhedonia, lack of finding pleasure in things. And again, this is not going to flip overnight. You're not going to go one day and then change the other day. This is going to be a slow process, a spectrum. The other thing is impaired memory processing. So again, not a night and day change. And over time, a lot of it we link to, well, I'm getting older, all those things, and they're all true. But when you start to maybe get the level deeper of what is going on and what could be a factor there, it was short term. Yes, they looked at mice, and yes, this is one of those studies that ends with need more studies. But again,
right.
that's where these start. So they found that in short term, in the mice, they elicited changes in short-term elevated blood glucose related to their memory functioning and their seeking of reward. So basically mice are going to be a little more primal in the sense of how much reward are they getting from going after this food or whatever, the treat, the sweet.
Yep.
Those mice had less interest over time with the elevated blood glucose. So, the depression itself. So who links type 2 diabetes to depression? And again, so many of these things, multifactorial. It's not like, I've been depressed and it's not this terrible thing that happened. It's my type 2 diabetes. No, it's not about that.
Right.
But as you're trying to piece together a difficult puzzle to a difficult issue, knowing what all those pieces are, and maybe what's one that is very hidden in the center, or not really forefront of people's minds whenever you're talking about it, I think was important. And I think too, just the day-to-day functioning of the memory processing, critical here. So one other thing that I really liked, that one of the researchers gave a quote about was Alzheimer's disease goes undetected for decades because our brains are good at finding ways to compensate. Before diagnosis, people behave normally despite having changes in information processing. We even observed that in this study. So again, back to the spectrum aspect of dealing with things like this, just the damage to the brain and the short-term memory functioning. And then you look at, there's a 65% higher incidence of Alzheimer's in people with type 2 diabetes.
Oh my goodness.
So when you look at maybe arresting something like this a little earlier, I just, again, think was really eye-opening to me.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, as you said, this is from the University of Nevada, that the punchline at the end of all of this is, hey guys, type 2 diabetes is really bad, and you need to do everything in your power to prevent it and then mitigate its effects if you have it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's back to kind of what I opened with. I think, again, you're just an individual just trying to make decisions day to day, and they feel okay. And yeah, they know that it could be bad for their kidneys, but their kidneys are fine. And yes, they know that they're at an increased rate for cardiovascular disease, but their cholesterol is good, and they go to the doctor. So everything's okay. And maybe these dietary decisions, maybe this exercise isn't not important yet. Maybe I'll keep an eye on it. Or this memory thing, I'm just getting older. Well, maybe that's how it manifested in your field. Maybe maybe you have a history of it in your family. So your incidence is already higher. What can you do to limit that? How early it comes on in your life is obviously critical, because that's something that, as you're piecing together the decisions you're making or how you're discussing with a loved one, I think is really, really important to understand and know.